Getting into the top prop bets in March Madness today, as well as NBA. Let's get into it. Well, yesterday was a fun day. We are not going to get a board like that in quite some time. I mentioned it during yesterday's live stream that the board that we got yesterday was better than the odds that we've really gotten on the boards for the last 2 weeks combined. It was crazy. So hopefully a lot of you guys were able to take advantage of that. It was a fun day. Now today, it's not a terrible board as well, but it also is not one in which like we need to hammer a bunch of bets. Maybe as the day progresses, that'll change, but there are a few decent ones that we got going. So let's go ahead and get into it. So the first one I want to call out is just simply an interesting one here. We got Brandon Stroud at 9.5 points. We can see over the last 3 games, he's been able to get the over. And the question is this true? Let me go ahead and check this out because we can see game log might not be accurate. Let me just verify that. Okay, no, apparently that is correct. Okay, I just want to make sure because sometimes PrizePicks is wrong. We've seen that plenty of times. But looking at the odds for this one, some lines have the under set at 10.5 and it's about minus 128. And some have the over odds set at minus 130 to go over 9.5 points. So it does seem like it should be set at 10. Kind of expected to get bumped. That kind of does also feel like one that we're forcing. Now, here's a prop that I want to point out as well. This just got bumped prior to me making this video down to 15.5. Okay, but on Underdog, it is still available at 16. The reason why is because we got some interesting lines here. The over for this is set at 14.5 at minus 128. So not a lock for it to go over there. And this is, as always, this is on average across the sports books. The under is set at 15.5 points, and that's about a push. And so we can see here as well, using DraftKings as kind of a default resource, minus 130 for the under to hit there as well. So we are seeing some discrepancies in that line. It's probably going to be one we stay away from on PrizePicks, but on Underdog, where we're getting a full half a, or I shouldn't say a full half a point, that doesn't make sense, a half a point here, that's pretty appealing to me. And also just given the fact that PrizePicks has already taken it away, it's another appealing thing to me. And now we have some interesting numbers with Eddie here. Edie. So looking at it right now, DraftKings, and let's just double confirm this. Yeah, they're heavily favoring the over 21.5 points. Now, if we were to look at FanDuel, they would actually have this line set at 22.5, and it'd be favored at kind of a push. We can see Underdog has that as well. So to me, it seems like this should really be one we are trying to hammer home just based off the odds. Now we can see lately hasn't been able to get the over. And also I do want to point out that the rebounds, 11.5, he's kind of heavily favored to get over this as well. In a, likely softer matchup, you would imagine he'd be able to get there. The question would be how many minutes is he going to get if it's a blowout? And so I'm just quickly trying to look at games that might have been blowouts. Here we go. 11 in that one. 13 in this one against Penn State. Only 27 minutes here. Only 6 rebounds. So, I mean, I guess if the game's a blowout and, he doesn't play the last 5 minutes, might not be able to get there, but in a softer matchup, kind of expect him to. This was favored at minus 150 for the over. So just interesting that those lines are out there. Obviously, there's a little bit of discrepancies between the sportsbook, but that's kind of college basketballs that we typically do see some weird lines. Like there is one today where I saw some at it at like, whatever, let's say 7.5. PrizePicks had it set at 8.5. And then another sportsbook had it set at like 9.5. Like there's a big old discrepancy there. So it's not like NBA where it's really concentrated. And then just another one, we were seeing minus 146 for over 3.5 fantasy or over 3.5 assists on FanDuel at minus 146 here. And then on DraftKings, it was at minus 130. So pretty good odds across the board for Burton to get over 3.5 assists. And so another one I found interesting, just given how PrizePicks was kind of adjusting their board. If you look at other players for their points, rebounds, and assists, they all got bumped up. That were all like minus 130, minus 135 for the over. Aiden, I believe that's how you say his first name. His over is set at minus 140 on DraftKings Sportsbook for over points, rebounds, and assists. To me, that was just a very interesting line because literally all the other ones were adjusted up like half of a, prop. So like this to me seems like it should be 16 based off of how PrizePicks was adjusting their boards. And maybe they didn't do that just because of this, like, the peaks and valleys here, a little bit too inconsistent. That could potentially be why. But literally the next 7 that we had favorable odds on all were basically bumped to even, which I found very strange. And then Nick Boyd, obviously this isn't pretty. We can see over his last 5 games, only over this once. But this is set at minus 140 to go over 1.5 threes. So on the season, he has been a good 3-point shooter as well. Just lately, it's slightly worse. And so, yeah, he's just been on a cold streak. It seems like 1 for 5, 1 for 4, 1 for 4. And maybe that's why he wasn't shooting it in the last game as well. Also was a blowout. So I guess, yeah, he's someone that, in NBA, we like to target players coming in off of a cold streak because chances are they're going to regress back to their mean in a positive way. I don't know if I exactly see that here with it, but I do get why they're favored -140 here. All right, so let's go ahead and get into the NBA board for today. So just looking at the favorable odds that we are getting currently, and this isn't a lock and load by any means. None of these are because they're not over -137. Right. But Tyus Jones, we can see -136 to get over 1.53s, favored at or projected to get 2.2 pretty much. So obviously just needs to get 2. And he does get a softer matchup today going against the Spurs, a team that we've really been targeting quite a bit. And so that is a pretty high scoring game as well. Memphis is favored to win because it is the Spurs, but I could see betting the over there. He's been cold lately as well. So chances are he's not going to continue to be that cold. So I could see him making 2 tonight. Then from there, we got Jabari Smith over 1.53. So we can see that should basically be a push, but they are favoring at -134. So I find that interesting because I think it'd be a much more appealing play if Sengun wasn't expected to play, but he is. So I don't know, that kind of feels like one that maybe we'd be forcing it. Now we can see that lately he has been really just crushing the over though. So I could see why people would want to chase that. And it does make sense why they're kind of favoring the over as well. He has just been shooting the ball a little bit more recently, especially from 3-ball range. So if the minutes are going to consistently be there, 37, 36, 36, that's appealing to me. And those were in games with Sengun there. So let's actually take a peek and see what his projected minutes are going to be. Okay, so 35. Yeah, if he gets 35, I would imagine that's obviously 5 more minutes, maybe 6 more minutes than his average. That could be another 3-ball attempt, and obviously just needs to make that. That's not terrible. Then let's see here. Yes, because it is a softer matchup against the Spurs, we are seeing that Tyus Jones is actually going to be favored for over assist. This is set at -129, so they are favoring the over, but he's projected to get 8.7. So about a full point edge there for his projection. And I would say that's most likely going to be because of the Spurs matchup. Yeah, so Spurs matchup 7.36. So not exactly. I guess it's probably not a lock and load. Okay, so let's check out some underbets that are potentially available. So here we go. Once again, probably not a lock and load, but it is -137 on average across the sports book. That's kind of the threshold for odds that we want to start to chase because that's when we get positive value off of that bet by placing on PrizePicks. We can see projected to get 2.37, so he's projected to get under. If you guys want to use the odds with that and the projection, I'm fine with it. Let's go ahead and just take a peek at it. Does get a tougher matchup against Cleveland. His assists have been all over the place. Averages 2.6 on the season. Last time out against Cleveland, 1. That game was a blowout. And then another game against Cleveland, 3. That was obviously early on in the season. I don't really like to look at that too much. Then let's just take a peek at the game over and under. Okay. I was going to say, if it was projected to be a blowout, I could see doing the under there. Probably a stay away, but if you guys are liking that prop bet and want to make it, I'm fine with that. That's why I like to call these out, because if you guys see an edge there, obviously you guys can use that. And that's kind of it. Let's go ahead and get into kind of the major edges that we are currently getting right now. So I want to point these two out. Dejounte Murray over 24.5 points and assists. We can see it's basically a push at 25.5. Okay, so we are getting a full point edge here. Now, yes, he's only projected to get 24.8. It's a small difference there. But given the fact that Vegas is saying that it should be 25.5, that has me intrigued. I will want to chase that more times than not. So it is going to be a good matchup with Golden State. The only issue with this is that he has been struggling as of late to be productive in that sense. And that could be a reason why you want to stay away. To me, it does not feel like a lock and load, but I did want to call that out because we were seeing a big discrepancy between the two. 1 point's a lot. And for what it's worth, Underdog also has it set at 25.5. So this is a situation in which if you guys are thinking the lower is going to hit, then you'd want to bet it on Underdog where you're getting a full point edge. If you think the over is going to be the way to go, you would then want to place it on PrizePicks here where we're getting a full point edge. And honestly, that could be a situation in which you do both if you want to. Very rarely do we get full point edges here. Okay, so we also have another one. We got Anthony Davis, points and assists. Okay, this one is intriguing as well. Basically a push, but they are favoring the over slightly more by about 8. The average sportsbook line has it set at 30.5. PrizePicks has it set at 29.5. He's projected to get 30.86, and they don't even have this prop available for Underdog. And so this could easily be a situation in which he gets there just with points alone. I think that's kind of what we'd be banking on for the most part, and then maybe just give him 1 assist. He averages 2.5 on the season, but I think that would be the approach that we'd want to go with. This is probably my favorite prop on the board today, just because we are getting that full point edge and he's projected to get over. Now, I do want to check out this game. It is a game that's projected to stay close, so interesting there as well. We got to get news on the Dallas situation. Kyrie could be back. We'll see. I think he would want to play in this game. It would be fun for the NBA if Kyrie played in that game. but that's a wait and see as well. And then we are still getting some good props here. We can see John Collins, the average sportsbook line, has his over points and rebounds set at 17.2. PrizePicks has it set at 16.5. Projected to get a lot. And that's going to be because, well, he stepped up into a bigger role recently, it seems like. Does get a good matchup as well. Now, I don't love that one, but if you guys are finding an edge there, you can make it. Devin Vassell continues to be an interesting one, just coming back from injury. He's projected to get a lot of minutes. The Spurs are still banged up. When are we going to start to see the Devin Vassell of old? It could happen today. He has been getting a lot more run. He's just been really poor shooting the basketball, or just not really doing everything too well that he was doing earlier on in the season when he was going on these really good runs. I don't know, that kind of feels too high. Honestly, it's probably another one that we're staying away from. It's just a very interesting line there. And that's kind of it for over bets, and any under bets, not really. And once again, we did get a lot of fantasy scores come in while I was doing this video. All right, let's see any that pop out. I'm gonna guess Sengun's gonna be projected over again. He's been projected over his prop total quite a bit lately, and I believe he's hit it, I think, 4 out of his past 5 games, but obviously it wasn't set at 32.5. So like, if you were thinking about betting Jabari Smith fantasy points, I would just say do the over 3s there instead, because I would say that'd be part of the reason why he gets there. This would be a very interesting line for Mobley if Jared Allen is still out. We saw him really have a high prop total the last the games against Charlotte for sure, and he didn't get the over, but it won't be shocking to see him get 42 again. Interesting line there. This one for Kevin Porter Jr. also seems a little bit too low. Now, obviously, I'm not refreshing the data here. I guess I'll refresh the data to see if this one's popping up. One sec. Once again, you guys won't see this on your end, but I'm just going to do that real quick. Yeah, I don't know if I'm touching Nick Richards. That was kind of an eye-popping fantasy prop here, so this is one of the ones that are kind of standing out here. Could do that. Trey Murphy probably staying away from. I don't know if these minutes are going to be accurate with Brandon Ingram expected back. We do see Kelly Oubre projected to get over that as well. He stepped up into a higher usage role with ball off the court. I don't mind that. PJ Washington kind of popping up as well. Sengun, yeah, Sengun is popping up as one of the better over bets, and so is Porzingis. That's an interesting one. These are all decent fantasy props. I wanted to see Kevin Porter Jr. Okay, so he's only projected to get over it by 1.31, so not a perfect bet there, but I don't mind it. So if I was just choosing 2, I think it would be these 2 as my 2 favorites, because those were the ones in which we were kind of getting the biggest edge on the board. Some lines had this at 22.5 points. DraftKings Sportsbook heavily favoring the over at 21.5. And then Anthony Davis, we are getting a full point edge here. And we're also favoring the over. Their projection was over as well. Now, that's all for today's video. There were a lot of other bets that I gave out there that were pretty strong. Like I said, the board was better today than it has been really. Besides yesterday in quite some time as well, but none that felt like locks. I feel like those 2 that I highlighted were the 2 best ones that we're getting on the board. Obviously, do with these what you guys please. Hopefully we have a good slate. Good luck today, and as always, let's keep cashing.